So it's Master Trooper Gary Cutler with the Colorado State Patrol Public Affairs Office. That's Gary Cutler, Garrycutler.
Give us a rundown. Tell us what happened, what time.
So today at approximately 11 o'clock, we had a semi that was eastbound on 470 between Bowles and King Carl Avenue. For some reason, it diverted, went off of the eastbound side, through the median, hit the guardrail, and went into the westbound lanes. It continued through the westbound lanes and went over the edge for about a 30-foot embankment and burst into flames. We've had a total of 5 vehicles that are involved with it. 3 were hit with debris, and 1 unfortunately went down with the semi's cab. The trailer disconnected from it as it was going over. Like I said, it did burst into flames, so they were fully engulfed. At this point, we have 2 confirmed fatalities.
Is one of those the truck driver, or can you say it?
So at this one, we're looking at the truck driver and the driver of the other vehicle that were hit.
That one over the embankment?
Correct, yes.
And you said that he went through that cable railing that you see in between dividing?
So actually went through a guardrail. So what you see usually is the cable rail, but the guardrail is the metal plates. And so he took out the metal plates there, went through that and across.
And that's supposed to stop, I know, cars to some extent, but this is obviously a big heavy semi.
It is. It was loaded with sand, so it really did have a load on it. So there was a lot of force and impact going through there. Guardrails usually don't handle that as much as the cable rails do, but I'm not the engineer, so I do know that I've seen cars hit the cable rails, but I don't know if even with a semi going through that, if that would be able to hold that back.
With the complexity of this scene, do you foresee this being shut down for the next several hours, or any estimate?
Yes, at this point we're predicting at least the westbound side to be closed through rush hour. Eastbound could be closed during that. They're going to try and get that open as soon as possible, but I don't know how long the investigation is going to take. So that's one of those things, again, we're just letting everybody know that this area is going to be closed down. It's a heavy commute highway. Make sure you plan accordingly. Make sure that you have some patience with everybody, because everybody wants to get home and they're going to have to try and find alternate routes.
Are you, I know it's very soon in this investigation, providing any details on IDs or just male, female drivers that were?
We don't have any of that information at this point. I know that we've got quite a few investigators on scene here to try and get this pushed through as fast as possible, but they still need to make sure that they do everything accurately, and so they need to make sure it's all correct. We're also in the process of trying to get the heavy equipment that we're going to need to be able to get the semi and the other vehicle back on the road, so they can also look at those.
And just say the part again, when the semi was going over the embankment, was there that second vehicle, that driver that passed away, were they trapped underneath, or how that?
So I don't know exactly how they actually both ended up underneath there, or going over the side, but the car did end up underneath the semi's cab.
And the cars that were involved, you said hit by debris or either hit by the semi, were they in the westbound side, the eastbound side, do you know?
It looks like we have a mixture of both. I know one was a motorcycle. Everybody is okay in those other 3 vehicles. We've had a complaint, as far as I know, of just one that has a hand injury, but everybody else, there's nobody else that has life-threatening injuries.
Anything, any behavior that was off from this truck before the accident, or was this just kind of a sudden thing? Do you have any idea what may have happened that caused him to swerve?
So at this point, we've talked to witnesses and those who were involved in it. No one has really been able to give us any indicators that the semi was doing anything that it shouldn't have been. So that's one of the things the investigators are going to look at and see if they can determine, because there's usually a lot of evidence that people don't realize is out there that we can look at it and start putting things together and piece it to find out what happened. Even with this, they'll do mechanicals if there's still some of the semi parts to be able to look at and determine what was going on, along with roadway debris, marks on the roadway, and any type of witnesses that saw something.
And of the 5 vehicles involved, does that include the semi and the car with the 2 fatalities?
That is correct, yes.
And then the other 3, did any of those people have to go to the hospital or be treated?
At the time I was there, nobody had.
And you said in this case, obviously you're looking at that evidence, because you can't talk with the driver and kind of ask, what happened, or was there a medical emergency, or did something give out on the truck? You simply don't.
Yeah, we don't have any of that information at this point. And like I said, our investigators are very good at this stuff, so they will look at all the evidence and start piecing it together and coming up with an idea of what happened.
Are you able to tell us the name of the company the truck driver was with?
Unfortunately, I don't even know that. The the semi is a complete loss at this point, so it's completely burned. You can't see anything on it. So it's going to take some time for them to also figure that stuff out.
And was anyone around that bike path when this was happening?
Unknown if there's anybody that was on the bike path that would have been involved in this. We haven't had any of the witnesses that I've seen that were bicyclists or anything like that.
And we know just months ago there was a similar type situation with a fiery crash, also on I-70 with the tractor trailer. Can you talk just about the complexity of the case with both?
Can't really talk about the case because I wasn't working the other one. I can just tell you that the State Patrol works very diligently throughout the state. We have a department that is set up to check motor carrier companies and drivers and make sure that they're in compliance. And so that's another aspect that they would go through. They're going to go through and check and make sure that everything was in compliance. The vehicle had its inspections, drivers were up to par with their certifications. And so those are all the little things that we go ahead and do. We're always checking on semis along the roadway to make sure that, that they are being in compliance with the state and federal laws.
And it sounds like just the impact of this crash, I mean, there was a large fireball. Can you talk about just kind of what people were seeing?
Didn't really get to see that, I just know that once the cab went over the road, it did catch fire. We did have a small grass fire also. South Metro was able to get on scene and also get the fire out very quickly, so we didn't have another situation on our hands.
And I was confused about the rails that we see. Was it a cable rail down there in the middle of the highway, or when you were talking about guardrails, is there a difference?
So cable rail is an actual cable that goes through. You're seeing a lot more of that lately, but in that area we had a mixture of cable rail and guardrail. He went through the guardrail area.
And not through the cable?
Correct.
And from what I understand, cables are usually a bit stronger?
I don't know what the strength level is on that compared to guardrails, so CDOT would be one that would be able to explain that to you a little bit better.
Looking down there, it looks like that hits a subtle turn. Did people say that he swerved into the oncoming lane or just continued straight? Was there a jerking action or?
So far, the ones that I've talked to did not see anything prior to it. They basically saw it going off the roadway and then saw the debris and the dirt and dust flying at that point. So I haven't talked to anybody in particular that saw it prior to that.
And just lastly, did it all concentrate where it went off the embankment, just the cab of the truck, and then the rest of the trailer's hanging there?
Right, so the cab of the truck separated from the trailer. Trailer's still up there on the side of the road. It did have sand it was hauling, and so that is spilled also, so that's going to have to be cleaned up as well. And then there was a concrete barrier there that was partially taken out as well as it went over the embankment.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Do you
Welcome.
anticipate any other pressers or?
At this point, I don't anticipate any more unless we have something big happen. We'll keep everybody updated if we find out that there were any more fatalities.